So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disrupted: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance in Business, Mindset, Wellness, and Success. He's the founder and CEO of Blaze Your Own Trail Consulting. Let me start over again. Okay. He's the founder and CEO of Blaze Your Own Trail Consulting, LLC, where he helps service providers grow their business through strategic marketing, sales, and leadership consulting. In April 2019, he started creating content on LinkedIn and quickly realized the power of organic reach. By December, he had amassed 20K followers using the strategy he now teaches his clients in his 12-week program. Since 2019, his content has reached over 7 million content views, and his audience has expanded to 68K plus followers. Now a full-time trailblazer, his goal is to help over 1,000 entrepreneurs and their companies grow their brands to increase their impact and income each year. He's also an author, keynote speaker, and hosts the top 1.5% ranked podcast, Blaze Your Own Trail. Welcome to the podcast, Jordan Mendoza.
Hey, thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. And anytime people read that intro, it makes me sound way cooler than I am. So I appreciate it.
Oh, don't be like that. I know you from LinkedIn. I know that's where we met, and you're freaking awesome. So thank you for being here. Let's jump into the content. I am so into this topic about a bulletproof mindset. Can you tell me, what does it take to build a bulletproof mindset?
Oh man, it takes a lot of adversity, a lot of no's,
Yeah, I've had it.
a lot of that. So I've been sharing with people recently. Before I turned 22 years old, I heard over 200,000 people tell me no, and there's a lot of value that comes with rejection.
Right.
Because there's lessons there, right? As long as we can extract the lessons from all of those no's and leverage them to create new opportunities or to do things a little bit differently the next time, that's when you can establish a bulletproof mindset.
Yeah, I love the way you celebrate the no's, and rejection is just more of a redirection, right? If you're learning from the experience and trying to constantly improve yourself, which is a policy that I really subscribe to. So bulletproof mindset. Let's ask another question here, because I know I've been through so much adversity and I really get fired up about it, because I've gone through 2020 and now the 2022, blah, blah, blah. So let's just dive a little deeper into actually overcoming adversity.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just kind of give you just 3 quick things, pivotal moments, right? We've all been through these things in our life that help shape who we are. So, when I was in 4th grade, so this is bringing it back to the 80s. When I was in 4th grade, I actually got stung by 53 bees.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
luckily I wasn't allergic, or we wouldn't be on the podcast together. I would not be here to talk about it, but
Yeah.
that, showed me, the type of pain tolerance that I can have, and,
Wow.
and, taught me a lot of lessons about, the teachers that ran for me instead of helped me, because we were at a picnic at a park, and
Oh
the
my
teachers
gosh.
that were helpful and tried to get the bees off me and dump coolers on me. So definitely learned some lessons and from that. And at 12, I was playing video games at a 7-Eleven, like I did because I had to take public buses to go to my middle school, and I
Right.
was racially profiled. I was beaten. I was
Oh my God.
falsely arrested. They thought I was a Hispanic runaway, and experienced what a lot of people, even in 2022, experience, where people profile them based on how they look and assume that there's something that they're not. And so that was some adversity I faced at an early age. And then at 19, I was doing sales. We were going to open an office I was living in the Bay Area, California. We were going to open an office in New Jersey. We were driving across the country, and in Wyoming, where it's very desolate for anyone that's going to watch this, it's not a lot to look at in Wyoming. And the driver in the truck that I was in fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh my
He
God.
woke up, overcorrected. We slid at 70 miles an hour. We flipped multiple times. The truck landed. I ended up having to get rushed to the hospital. I had to have laser surgery on both of my legs. I was told I may not walk again.
Oh my
Had
God.
52 staples in my legs and made a 6-month recovery. So, I'm a big believer that, adversity gives us strength, and
Yeah.
things happen, for us and not to us. And as long as we're able to really extract what those lessons are, and then, it helps us understand our purpose is bigger than maybe we had originally thought.
Like you were just meant to be here. You've been through so much adversity. I've been through so much adversity myself. And I feel like that is what gives you resilience and grit. And the reason I want you guys to really hear this, because I know that mental health is a huge problem right now. And if you could just take all of those negative comments and all of the bad things and turn it into fire to fuel you to say, they're not going to get me. I'm here for a reason. I'm meant to be here. And I have a message to share with the world. Doesn't that make you even more on fire to just share
Oh,
the
and
message?
listen, when you're up to good things, folks, bad stuff's going to happen, and it's going to happen early. It's going to happen often. I mean, we could sit here and have a 3-hour episode about, all the things that I've experienced in
Oh,
my
I could
life,
match you one for
and
one,
right,
but I don't think so.
that's not what it's about though, right? It's
No.
about, it may have happened to you, but what did you do about it? Did you sit there and sulk and become a victim, or did you say, you know what, let me put my pants, pull my bootstraps up, and let me go out and as long as I'm breathing, you better believe I'm gonna go out to try to make a positive impact. And whether it's police beating me, or bees stinging me, or accidents injuring me, or like, a couple months ago, Facebook and Instagram completely hacked and wiped out, almost 50,000 followers on Instagram
Oh my
gone
gosh.
in the blink
Yeah.
of an eye, right? So these things happen, but again, when you're up to good things, when you're out to make a positive impact, there's going to be trials. There's nowhere in the world where it said life was going to be easy. And
Yeah.
so is the quicker that you can figure that out, the
Yeah.
better, because ultimately, things are going to happen. It's just a matter of how are you going to react? How are you going to respond? And what are you going to do about those situations when they arise?
Yeah, I really want you guys to hear this because I know for me, I had similar stuff happen to me growing up. And many times, even my former YouTube channel was stolen by a former virtual assistant of mine in 2020. And all this stuff was happening where I had to be forced into a pivot. And I just got around the right people. And I just use that as fuel for the fire to be like, I'm meant for more than what I'm currently doing. And this is a blessing in disguise. So if you
Yeah.
can look at stuff that's adversity and decide someone's testing you, you're not going to fail. You have resilience, you have grit, you can bounce back better. So wonderful way to bounce back from adversity. That's so impressive. I love your drive. I love your grit. I love your resilience. And how can we establish perseverance too? What do you got to say about that?
Man, you gotta keep moving. I say this a lot to my clients. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates consistency. Consistency creates habits, and
Yeah.
it's the habits that actually produce the results to get the success that we want. And so, I heard Denzel Washington say in this commencement speech one time, and he was talking about a conversation with his mom, and his mom said to him, you can run in place for a really long time, but never get anywhere, right? You
Right.
have to
I've
move
been there.
forward. You have to take action. And if you're not taking action, you're not ever going to move forward. And so you're not ever going to persevere because you're not actually moving in the direction which enables perseverance. Another quote that I had heard from a pastor at my church he said that instability creates stability, not the other way around.
I love
And
that.
we're so comfortable, in our society being comfortable. And if you're comfortable, you're never going to expand. You're never going to grow. Growth actually happens in uncomfortable situations. And if you don't step out of your comfort zone, you're never going to have anything to persevere from, or anything to overcome in general.
Yeah, I mean, I love that word. I love persistence. I love your motivation. I love perseverance, grit, and resilience. Do you have any other messages for our audience about how we can be unstoppable like you are? Because I really admire the way you fail forward instead of taking this as a setback, taking it as fuel for your fire, motivation to keep going.
Yeah, so I would love to share a quote. I actually wrote this in 2019. Didn't know how much I was going to need it in 2020, and it's added value to a lot of people, even here in 2022. And what the quote says is that the struggle might be real, but the good news is that every struggle has a free gift called a lesson. And so for your audience, the goal is, how do I extract that lesson? Right?
Right.
Because if we never look at the lesson, if we never look and say, what did this do for me? Right? What can I learn from this, and how can I take action to move forward? You are going to be in this situation where it's an endless cycle of stuck. And if you're
Yeah.
stuck, you can't move, right? Just think about quicksand. What happens when people try to get out of it is they get more stuck, right?
Right.
And the best
Exactly.
way to get out of quicksand is to be more calm, right? So, but how do you get to that level of calm? You've got to reevaluate. You've got to think about, okay, how do I extract something from this? Because in every adversity, and this is a quote from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, with every adversity comes an equal or greater opportunity. We just have to be able to know that we need to look for that opportunity.
Right. I love looking back and reflecting. It's like not just around New Year's, but do you go back and reflect like on a quarterly basis, or do you just on a case by case basis try to reflect and be like, okay, how can I do better? Or
Yeah,
what's
it's
my,
always reflect, Lisa, and never dwell. And I think that's
yeah,
where a lot of people get caught up, is they get the woe is me, and they go, man, like, it sucked that I was poor when I was a kid. Like, I was on food stamps, pink lunch tickets. Like, I could easily look at that and say, man, like, if I were to dwell on that, my life would look completely different now, right? Because I would be playing that victim mentality and have a scarcity mindset, which has come up in my past, right? Just being
right,
transparent, it did hinder me, but that's exactly it. Is it hindered me? I used to always feel bad that I didn't go to college, even though I knew I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to be a business owner eventually. But when I was in corporate and we were at the water cooler and getting our Keurig coffees, everyone's talking about freshman year and fraternities, and I couldn't relate to that. And I
right.
remember having, being like, man, they made me feel less than.
Yeah,
But what I started to realize is that because I didn't go to college, I've got so much more world experience, and I've had so many different things that I've overcome that they're never going to be able to look through the lens that I see through. And so now I look at it as a bigger advantage, because I've,
yeah,
I've,
me
I've done
too.
things. I've been through a lot of things. I've, had the pleasure of, traveling went going to the Philippines at 16, which really opened my mind and expanded it to realizing that we are a very rich country. Poor
Right.
is not the same, in third world countries as it is in the US. And so I've gained a lot of worldly perspective and street smarts and how to hustle and grind, and, you know, uh, doing a lot of things the wrong way, right? You got to learn the lessons the hard way, and it teaches you what not to do, and then it
Right.
really helps elevate your skill sets. Because a lot of the things I did as a knucklehead kid that used to shoplift and get in trouble for stuff, I now take my influence and I leverage it for positive things. Like, now I'm teaching people how to be better versions of themselves. I'm showing
Yeah.
people how to navigate the digital world, and so I'm leveraging the same skill set but for good versus bad, right? And so, but I had to go through a lot of the things that I went through in order to become the version of me that's out there today.
I just love your perspective. I mean, for me, it was easy to get caught up in victim during 2020 and at other times. And I found meditation really helps me. So I got into listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he would talk about how every day you can't get up on the same side of the bed, grab the same cup of coffee, and do everything the same and worry about the past and worry about the future. So for me, with my levels of anxiety and stress that I've experienced, meditation and exercise calms me down so that I can be future focused. So I want you guys to take these lessons from Jordan and just fail forward, just keep going. sometimes you're just a few feet away from gold. Isn't that from Think and Grow Rich too?
100%. Yeah, yeah, you're so close, right? You a lot of people give up right before they're about to have a breakthrough. And if you're
Right.
going through a hard time right now, there's something good on the other side of that, but if you let things get you down and keep you there, you're not ever going to realize what that good looks like.
Right. I love this. So why don't you tell our audience where they can find you, your amazing content on LinkedIn and podcasts and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I make it super easy, on LinkedIn, obviously you can just search for me there. I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, and YouTube. It's the same handle at Jordan J Mendoza. On Instagram, it's the real Jordan J Mendoza, since my other account got hacked and taken down. But yeah, I'm sure you'll plug all that info in the show notes. And my goal, obviously as a business owner, and what we do now is helping people build authority and monetize social media. But I often find myself with my coaching clients helping them with things like mindset, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're going to be a business owner, especially in this day and age, you got to have a strong mindset. You can't let things get you down. You can't let low views bring down your morale, or losing a client or things like that, because those things are inevitable, folks. Those things are going to happen. So yeah, if any of what I've said resonates with you and you guys want to reach out, shoot me an email, reach out to me on social. I'm very approachable and reachable. And my goal, honestly, is just to help people, whether they're a paying client or just someone that I get introduced through a contact. My goal is to add value, not to take it away. So I'd love to meet with you, to connect with you. And I appreciate you, Lisa, for all the awesome things that you're doing. You do such a great job with your show. And I just want to honor you and encourage you to keep going, because you've got more to give to people.
Thanks, Jordan. You're awesome.